Hello, I am the Flawless Walrus, and welcome for the last time to my Let's Play of Tunic. Unfortunately, it seems a lot of the tech issues decided to rear their ugly heads all towards the back half of the playthrough, and none of my audio from my mic was picked up for what was essentially the final episode with the true ending. Definitely a deflating way to end things off, but if there's one good thing that can be taken from this, it's that I get to put a bit more thought into my closing remarks on this game. If anything, it's a plus that there was no extra boss, or really all that much raw gameplay in the final moments. Besides the fairy puzzles themselves, it was mostly following where I needed to go, and figuring out the puzzles there. Especially the mountain door, which was a hell of a puzzle in and of itself. All in all, the last episode now lets me go over this game's experience leading up to the very end. First and foremost, Tunic is a game about exploration, adventure, and intuition. So little of the game actively directs you on where to go, and the language is unreadable, or at least it was unreadable, more on that later. You need to hunt for your way somewhere, and while it can cause a stopping moment or two, like those dreaded bridges before the well, more often than not it feels like traveling, not caring about where you end up so long as it's somewhere new. And these locales were stellar, from the calm forests to the downright oppressive ziggurat and factory area. This game kept a wonderful pace of progression, and yet it maintained its style and charm. And on top of each, the bosses. While very few in number, the bosses were quite memorable, except the guard captain, but yeah, I don't know if we count him. So excluding him, we have 5 bosses, with the garden knight, the siege engine, the librarian, boss scavenger, and the heir. Each felt different, but like from the sheer size of the engine to the borderline mirror match that was the scavenger. And I don't think any boss was a cakewalk either. I had to fight a few times for each one to learn them, but the bosses ultimately took up a fairly small portion of the game, leaving the rest of it to the exploration. And this exploration wasn't limited to the terrain, but understanding where you are and how you move around. I said it many times, this game has so many shortcuts that aren't in an unlocked gate or something like that, but instead being a way around that you simply didn't see before. A very lucky player could find these paths on their first run and bypass plenty of ways around, but none of that compares to specifically the puzzles. The instruction booklet in general was such a cool part of this game that informed not only how to play the game and give you your maps, but it also led to so many of the craziest puzzles and not feeling like a floundering chore. It made things like the fairies and such manageable, otherwise it would have taken like an hour to track down these things and do the puzzles. But still, the amount that you needed to keep track of, like the golden obelisk and the golden path, were the answer isn't even really tracked, much less told to you. It's the first game in ages where I had to bust out a literal pen and paper to write out these lengthy codes, and it felt great to do so. The game trusts that you're not going to get bored halfway through if the answer isn't marked on a minimap or having the lines shown directly to you. It's this that kept the game having that sense of intrigue even as the adventure came to a close. Though yes, I got all the fairies, and will be showing the true end, there was still the golden treasures, but I've been told that they are just not feasible for trying to track them down in a video without a guide. There's not really any reward for them either, so I am going to call it with what I got. That said, what I said before is still on the table. Remember how I questioned if we'd ever learn the strange language that we see in the game pretty early on in the playthrough? It turns out the letters are indeed able to be deciphered and able to be translated into English. It's a fascinating phonetic cipher based on the sound of syllables. The chart for it is right here, but each word is connected through this line in the center. At which point the interior lines are the consonants, and the outside lines are the vowels. Take this word here, for example. The first rune's cipher is a K on the interior, with the outside lines being AR. So R in this case. The next 2 runes have no vowels, but are D and Z. Put them together and you get cards. If there is a dot under the rune as well, you swap the vowel and the consonant. For this example, in this case, the first rune, Ka, would become Ak. The runes are able to be fully translated, and I've actually glanced around and seen some of the dialogues that NPCs are talking about. The spirit of the librarian literally calls you an idiot for killing him and freeing the heir. He's surprisingly sassy. Use this knowledge as you will. That is to say, I looked for more answers and found a puzzle that was able to be pieced out. It's the truest spirit of this game that I've taken to heart, and deciphering things said in the game, and even my girlfriend and I sending messages back and forth in these runes has actually been a blast. The game is pretty light on story and comparatively shorter than plenty of its like, but at the end of the day, it's the spirit of the game that was its greatest draw to me. And just like the secret ending, which I will have playing here, being good at a game is one thing, but it's another thing entirely to share one's wisdom, and as I have with this fun written language. I'm more than happy to have had Tunic as my first Let's Play, even if there were some technical bumps along the way. We live, we learn, and we keep moving forward. Thank all of you for joining me on this journey, and hopefully I'll see you with some of my other games I play, or my death battle predictions if that's what you're usually here for. So with that, have yourselves a great one.